So welcome to 7.EE.4 A and B. This is the video for goal 3. In this video you are going to learn how to graph inequalities and write them based on their graphs. So here's our first inequality. We have A is greater than 6. A is greater than 6. So this is how you graph inequalities. They are graphed on a number line. The number line, if you notice, it has arrows going in both directions because that number line can go on forever. And the spaces in between are marked off relatively similar in length in between. So they're spaced fairly evenly. After that, you need to start adding some reference points on this number line. We could say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the reason why I chose those numbers is they are around the number 6. In fact, one of our points is even 6. This is the tricky part about inequalities. You need to know whether or not you're going to mark the number line with an open or a closed circle. So I'm going to mark this one with an open circle. Then I want you to try to figure out why I'm going to mark the next one with an open or a closed circle. So I'm going to do x is less than or equal to -1, and I'm going to do this one as well and graph it. I'm going to mark this one with a closed circle. And I want you to now pause the video and try to contemplate why would I have created one with an open circle versus one with a closed circle. Now, I'm obviously going to tell you the answer now, so if you didn't pause it, you actually already know, or you'll find out. But the main reason why there is an open circle versus a closed circle is if we look at the inequality, A is greater than 6. We have an open circle because there is no equal to, there's no this line underneath that inequality. Because there's no line under the inequality, it's an open circle. Essentially, if we were to put 6 into this equation, it wouldn't end up being true. We have 6 is greater than 6, which is not a true statement. So because of that, we cannot include 6 in our graph. And so we make an open circle, and everything greater than that will work. So 7 would work for this situation, 8 would work, 9 would work, 17,000 would work. But all of those numbers work except for 6 and everything less than that. With this equation that we have down below it, we can see that there is the equal to side, so we can fill this circle in. And from there, we can also draw the arrow to be less than. What I also want you to pay attention to right now is the fact that I wrote the variable on the left-hand side. We then have the inequality and then the number. If you have the variable on the left-hand side, the inequality, and then the number, if you look at your inequality and look at the arrow that you've just created with your graph, they go in the same direction. Check my work by looking at this one. We have the inequality A is greater than 6. Our inequality for the graph goes to the right. Our inequality has sort of an arrow shaped pointing to the right. So now let's do a couple of problems. Okay? We have the problem x is less than 5. Based on what I did before, we need to add some reference points to this. So let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We then need to decide, is it going to be an open circle or a closed circle? So is it going to be just the outline of a circle, or is it going to be filled in? And in this case, we just have the inequality of less than. There's no equal to, so it's just going to be an open circle. And then because we have variable inequality number written from left to right, we can then use that inequality to hint to us everything less than 5 is going to work for this equation. So there we go. There is one finished graph. Let's do this next graph. And if you want to, you can pause this video and do this graph on your own. So, and then check your work. So here we go. We have some reference points. Let's do -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Awesome. Reference points, they're done. Next, I need to decide, is it going to be an open circle or closed circle, and I base that off of my inequality. I have greater than or equal to -2, so I can say, all right, I'm going to make a closed circle because that equal to tells me that it's included in this whole thing, so I'm going to add that into my inequality. Then after that, I need to decide, am I going to shade to the right or to the left? And if I look at my inequality, it's giving me a hint and telling me that I need to shade to the right. Everything bigger than that is going to work. Now let's actually check it. Could I put a 1 into this inequality? Is 1 greater than or equal to -2? Yep, it works. What I can also say is, well, -2, is that greater than or equal to -2? Yeah, 2 is greater, or -2 is greater than or equal to -2. It's actually equal to, okay? So we can play around with that sort of stuff a little bit, and that's kind of fun. Now, we also need to be able to graph, or be able to figure out an inequality based on the graph. So let's look at this inequality. You need to be able to write an inequality based on the graph. So here is our graph. We need to write an inequality for this. So in our graph, I see a circle happening at 2, so I'm going to write the number 2 down. I know that's going to happen. As well, we don't know a variable, but we can make one up. Let's use x. That seems like the variable that everybody uses, so why not use it? So x, and now we have to figure out, is this going to be less than, greater than, equal to, whatever. Let's actually look at this. If we were to put a 3 in here, it would work. If a 4 would work, a 5 would work, but nothing less than 2 is going to work. So what we can do is we can then say everything, or x is greater than 2. I say greater than because, and not less than, because there is no filled in circle. And also we have the little hint of, here is our arrow and it's going to the right. So here's our arrow going to the right. So x is greater than 2 is our final answer. Let's do another one. Write an inequality based on the graph, and we have a graph with a circle filled in around -3, and then everything less than that is going to work. So using that information, we could write -3. Oops, that's a -2. Sorry. -3. And then let's pick a variable. This time I'm going to say M, because that's the start of my name, and I like the name Maggie, and so I'm going to do that. So write an inequality based on the graph, and now my last thing, I have a variable picked out, I have my inequality, I have it set up variable inequality number, which tells me that I can use my little cheat of paying attention to that arrow pointing, and I can make my arrow point the same direction. So M is less than -3, but let's think, would -3 satisfy this equation? It sure would, so I need to make sure I put an equal to. So M is less than or equal to -3, because -4 would work, -5, -6, -752, but also -3 is less than or equal to -3, so all of this would work. So that is how we do those equations. Hope this helps.